Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture brought to you by my sponsor, Make Some Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative projects can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns. A bunch of them you have even heard about on this very show. My friend Ben Cook has Apex, which is an amazing book that was printed by Mixum. And they offer services in the United States, where Ben is from, which is Canada, Australia, and the UK. And Mixum can print or reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now, for my listeners, they're running a special promotion where you can get 5% off of your very first order if you drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab. And every percentage point counts. You know, obviously a bunch of people have already been on this show who spoke about that last night. And in about 2 hours from now, somebody's going to be on. And we're going to be talking a little bit about running a Kickstarter. So again, drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab on Mixum.com, and you'll get a 5% discount on your first order. And so I have with me Cosplayer Unproductive Cosplay. So welcome to the show.
Hi. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, I am very excited because you have a fantastic cosplay from FMAB, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I want to call it as it is. I just, for full disclosure here, and some of you might have heard the episode with me and Josh, and we were speaking about this. I am on episode 27 of Brotherhood. I have read the full manga. I know exactly what happens.
Okay.
I just never got around to watching the anime, and that's what I'm going to be doing over Thanksgiving weekend, because this weekend I'm watching Cowboy Bebop on Netflix.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm just saying it's going to be a good weekend or a bad weekend. I don't know which. It's going to be in one of either category. And December 7th is going to be fun, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's going to be fun with Titan Comics. It may or may not be Cowboy Bebop related. But, and I promise we're going to get to your Armstrong cosplay, but I am super curious how you got into cosplay.
So it's actually really funny. I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know, I didn't really know that the animes I was watching late night on Saturday, I didn't realize they were anime on Toonami. I was just like, oh, whatever this is, I'm in love, because I draw and stuff as well. So that's what got me into that part. So I was into the art and just searching from what I could see with Inuyasha and trying to go down a rabbit hole. And I ended up meeting a friend, and she was like, this is my freshman year in high school, and my friend was like, do you like anime? And I was like, what's that? And she's like anime, like Japanese cartoons. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she ended up saying, well, you need to go home and watch Fullmetal Alchemist. And so I was like, okay. And this was when you could only watch so many episodes, at a time before it was cut off and you had to go play when really you have another browser pulled up behind that. But I got into that and fell in love with it. And around my birthday was in March, and there's a convention called OhioCon, which is in January. And I was going into the bookstore, and I saw this girl who had a Mustang plushie hanging from her window, and I was head first into the window, what is that? How did they get it? I need it. And so I started talking to the girl, and she's like, oh yeah, it's this thing called OhioCon, you can cosplay, you do this. And little 13-year-old me is over here taking notes because I have to do this. And so I found out about OhioCon, and my mom was like, if you have some friends that'll go, then you can go for your birthday, even though it wasn't. So my friends, I ended up telling about them, and they were all older, so they had been before, and they're like, yes, we're going to OhioCon. And so we were all obsessed with Fullmetal Alchemist then. And so what happened was, we were we're all going to cosplay from Fullmetal Alchemist. And so my favorite boy, who is best boy, actually, even though I do Armstrong, is Alphonse. He is my heart and joy. I have stickers on my computer and everything of it. And so my friends decided that they were going to help me make a cosplay, and it was going to be Alphonse. And this was when we didn't know anything about Eva foam or any of that other fancy stuff. It was a cardboard box with, yeah, basically with a cardboard box and a bicycle helmet and like some shoes that we constructed this outfit out of. And looking back, it was very, very sad. But at the time, I was like on top of the world. You couldn't tell me anything. And so that's kind of where it started. And every year I would go back and like do small cosplays. But it wasn't until I got into college and was a Japanese language and cultures major. So when I came back from Japan and I was here, because I wasn't into cosplay before that, honestly, but when I came back, one of my friends again was going to OhioCon, and she's like, Maji, we have to cosplay. I'm like, okay. And so I was like, but I'm really scared, because at the time I was nervous with cosplaying anyone that wasn't like POC or black at the time, because like I had heard so much stuff from other people. And my friend was like, I'll beat them up if they say something, which mind you, she was like this tall. I'm 6 foot. So she's like maybe this tall and talking about she's going to fight people. So she was like, pick what you want. We're going to do this. And so I did Raven as my first like face cosplay because Alphonse, you couldn't see me. And I haven't been able to stop since then. I've just been zooming since college, basically. But yeah.
So we're going to get into FMA, and we're going to dive into some of these, and I have a bunch of them we're going to talk about. And okay. I promise we're going to get to Fullmetal Alchemist. I promise everybody.
Okay. No.
But I am super curious because, and I do like to talk inside baseball before I go really headfirst into this. And obviously, you've done a bunch of cosplays that you mentioned. Raven, you've done a bunch of Disney characters. You've done a few other animes. Obviously, Steven's Universe, just a name drop here. You've done some Sailor Moon stuff. And so I am curious where your inspiration comes from and where you even get your ideas from, because obviously there is so much anime out there and so much, Disney stuff out there and so much comic book stuff out there that everybody is inspired by different things. And I'm super curious what drives you to certain characters and even how they come about, because you don't do characters traditional as well.
No. I end up doing something.
That's not a code, by the way. That's not a code. I'm not trying to give codes here. That's not a code.
Basically, it kind of comes from me being way too ambitious, and my friends are unable to sit me down because I'll see something and I'll think it's cool, and then I'll go down like a rabbit hole of like looking at different fan arts, looking at different things, and then end up like making my own idea. Sometimes it's like other people, sometimes it's my own idea. And I usually ask them before I do, but it kind of goes that I just end up loving the characters, looking for different fan art and stuff, and then either it calls to me or it doesn't. Sometimes it's for friends. Like there's some cosplays that I do that are just because I love my friends and I love cosplaying with people, because like seeing someone else happy makes me happy. So then like it kind of like that. But I also I used to draw a lot, and I was in art school, and so I kind of sometimes look at projects based off of if I want to make certain items, certain clothing, want to see myself in like certain designs, and I kind of go from there and like put my own spin to it. I don't know if that was actually answering anything.
Yeah, you can answer it however you want. We speak freely on my show. And there's no wrong answers. So sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm fine. I'm everywhere.
But even go further off into that, because obviously everybody has different inspirations, but also cosplay, and it's not a secret, can become very expensive. And one of the challenges with cosplay is, finding materials, understanding what are the right materials, understanding good deals on the right materials, also understanding substitution materials, measuring yourself, that's a big one. Obviously, if I didn't sort of hint at it already, balancing costs, because we all have budgets, and it doesn't just apply to cosplay, that applies to life collectively. And also, just time constraints and even just the availability of materials, because obviously I think you're in the US from my understanding, and I'm in the US. but I've spoken to people in Australia and in the UK,
Oh, yeah.
and COVID's been a very different experience for them, where some of
Mhm.
them caught on really quickly, where they
Mhm.
bought a lot of supplies early on, and they're
Yeah.
now starting to run out of
Yeah.
materials over 22 months. And in the US, I don't think we've had that problem in the cosplay community.
So I
But
don't
what,
really think
yeah.
so. Sorry. Continue.
So what is that like for you, figuring out how to do that and even balance inspiration as well? Because obviously all of that impacts cosplay and even the development
Mhm.
of it. And those are the tricky components of cosplay in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, for me, I kind of I used to just sporadically, like, there would be ideas that I had in my head, that characters that I wanted to do on like this like mental list. And then sometimes it turned into, okay, well, I have this list over here, and like over, if it's not that important, if I don't have to have it at this con, if it's not for a friend, I'll end up buying material over the course of time. Just grabbing things here and there until like I almost have everything. And usually by that point, something is pushing me to have to make it right then and there, even though I have all the materials. But sometimes there is a struggle. If you can't find the exact thing, you can't um, always make certain things your skill level. Because, like, I taught myself all of this stuff, and majority of cosplayers do, or they use like their day-to-day lives to use towards their cosplay and help them in those ways. Um, so for me, I look for deals. I am 6 foot tall, and I am a thick woman, so usually the average thing doesn't fit on me.
This is what I mean by measuring yourself, also knowing your
Yeah,
body type.
yeah,
Not to,
yeah.
be coming off judgmental, but you're a tall woman, and as you stated,
Yeah.
you're a thick woman, and I'm going to say something that's somewhat offensive, but skimpy is not a word thrown around, for lack of a better
Mhm.
word. And there are cosplays that are designed to be skimpy
Mhm.
and to
Yeah.
push the line.
Yeah.
And that line is constantly pushed, and it is complicated sometimes when
Yeah.
you have to figure out, okay, this is not, there hasn't been somebody who has made something for
Mhm.
me with this character. How do I
Mhm.
even go about conceptualizing it? Because I've never cosplayed, anything beyond, I did cosplay 2 or 3 times, and it was custom made for me, and
Okay.
my measurements.
Mhm.
But it's the idea that I would imagine but the character has been done so many times. So it
Mhm.
was very easy for it to be tailored, an extra few
Mhm.
inches. And so
Mhm.
obviously, you know, from that position, what is that like for you to
Um,
sort of deal with that as well?
Usually what I'll do, if there's a character that I want to do, and I rarely ever buy my costumes, which is also why everything looks like a variant, because it is always going to be probably the unproductive route of things, because, like you said, money and the accessibility of some things. Usually I'll look at the items and figure out either A, is it easier or cheaper to make? Or is it easier to buy something that's close to it and fix it, and or tailor it differently? And usually that's how I go the route of things, is because I can find pieces usually cheaper and more tailored to my body type if I just search that way. I sometimes I'll go to places like, I don't know if you guys have it, but like Discount Fashion Warehouse and like the Goodwill. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but it's
I know what Goodwill is. I'm not.
oh,
I'm not
no,
uncultured.
Goodwill. I meant the Discount Fashion Warehouse. No, like that, or Gabe's. Like I go to a lot of like cheaper in stores and then get these items that can kind of fit and then tailor them to myself so that they fit for me, they're right for me, and then I don't have to worry about it. I have to help my cousin a lot with that as well, because she's not new to cosplay, but it's kind of like she is newer, so I try to help her. But I'm sorry, I probably get off topic very
No, no,
easily.
it's fine. It's
but
fine. So, so, so,
but
so, so to even go further into that, because obviously one of the things, and I'm very upfront about this, I hate the word professional cosplayer. I despise that position. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with people making money. I
Mhm.
want people to make as much money as they humanly
Mhm.
possibly can. I
Mhm.
am, by no apologies, I am a greedy capitalist. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that people want to pay me money for what I have, and that I make money, and they're happy with it. I'm happy with it. Everybody's happy. The
Mhm.
whole thing is that, though, is that I hate the word professional cosplayer because
Mhm.
I feel like that it creates a division between people who
Mhm.
want to cosplay for fun, people who are
Mhm.
cosplaying because they enjoy it or view it as therapy or view it as a
Mhm.
hobby that maybe pays
Mhm.
for itself. Or conversely, there's a bunch of people like me who I didn't build my cosplay, but I look like,
Mhm.
or I used to look like Amuro Ray to some degree. And I
Mhm.
played that character well. And then that creates a whole division with somebody who says, look, I'm not skilled enough. I have no desire to go create a cosplay. But
Mhm.
man, I would love to dress up as Batman. If I
Mhm.
had a girlfriend who was Catwoman and we were going, to a con, and then I had a kid who was
Yeah.
8 years old and he was Damien, it'd be perfect. It would be
Oh
a
my goodness.
blast,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go make my Batman cosplay, but I don't think it
Mhm.
means I'm any less valid. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
and that's something that I think is one of the biggest problems. And I think that because I don't think that some of the stuff you made, some of it you modified, and some of it
Mhm.
was purchased, and I don't think any less different either way of you
Mhm.
as a cosplayer. But I
Mhm.
feel like there's a whole issue in the entire
Mhm.
cosplay world, and maybe I'm
Mhm.
mistaken
Oh no,
that
you're not.
you know about that. I'm the first person to say because I'm not the expert, but that's what I'm getting out of some of the upper echelon in cosplay. And I think it's
Mhm.
a real issue, and I think it sort of is rooted in the term professional cosplay. And I could
Mhm.
be completely wrong, and that's sort of my opinion, but that's what I've
Mhm.
seen and observed. And I'm super curious how you feel about that because these are conversations that don't happen, I feel, in the
Mhm.
cosplay
Mhm.
world.
So for me, I'm kind of with you. I don't like the term professional cosplayer. I feel like you said, there is a division in that because I started cosplay for fun and I still do cosplay for fun. And no matter what, I'm gonna be me. And I feel like what I've seen, especially since college when I started doing cosplay, and started doing it more and more, especially when Instagram was coming up. So it was like people were starting to use Instagram as a way to show off their costumes. And then it went from, instead of just we're having fun in this cosplay, it goes to, okay, let me take this picture, let me put this on Instagram, let me see how many likes I get. Or my cosplay is better than you because I get certain likes, or because I made certain sections of it, or I did this. And I don't feel like it's right. Like, my whole thing is, no matter if you've been doing cosplay forever, if you've been doing cosplay for a day and you just have a wig in your room, as long as you're having fun, I feel like that's how I go about things. But I have ran into many people who have tried to use me in the cosplay community, who have tried to, they start picking up on following, and then they start treating you different. Like, there's some VIP, and I'm just like, bro, you were my friend the other day. Like, why are you acting funny because you have such and such a, like, at the end of the day, I don't care. Like, it's a number on a page doesn't matter, at the end of the day, if you have value in your cosplay or not. And I feel like since Instagram and like posting online and getting professional photos and stuff has come into things, and people want to elevate and elevate and elevate, which is fine. I just think it ends up making people who aren't, at that level yet, or don't even want to get to that level, it just makes them anxious because now, people, there's this bar that's up here, and you might just be trying to walk in for your first con, and you're not that bar. Like, you're not going to be that bar. And I mean, if you are, listen, come on. But everybody is at different levels. So I too feel like there is a big division, and I hate it. Like, I don't want to say I want to go back to how cosplaying used to be, but to an extent, I miss that section, especially during the pandemic. I feel like it became even more of a, um, well, since I can't go to a con and show off, this is how I'm going to become more popular. This is how I'm going to get seen, or this is, and it made like a form of anxiety and competition that didn't have to be there, but it kind of was there because of that whole stigma that's around it now, I feel.
Yeah, and also there's been a shift in this entire
Mm-hmm.
thing where certain people have lost following. You know, I could
Mm-hmm.
tell you something about Jessica, and I got no problem stating it. And
Mm-hmm.
if she wants to come after me, be my guest, I'll be happy to have that fight. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it full front on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say full frontal, but that might be misinterpreted in today's world. Um,
Yeah,
but
maybe just a wee bit.
hey, Gundam did it first. Um, so,
Fair, fair,
so they did it first. Um,
fair.
which is really, really funny in a lot of ways, but not the point here. Not the point.
Yeah, no.
One of the things that happened with her is that she didn't post content for 11 months in the first 11 months of COVID, give or take. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people are really waking up. And you look at
Mm-hmm.
companies like Hot Topic. I know certain cosplayers who have less than 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 followers on Instagram, which is not a lot. I mean, if I had
Mm-hmm.
12,000, I'd be ecstatic.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
If I had
agree.
12,000 loyal fans, I would be made for life because
Yeah.
I would it would just be easy for me. But
Mm-hmm.
now these people who have those numbers are getting deals with Hot Topic when legitimately 3 years ago Hot Topic wasn't looking at them. So there is
Mm-hmm.
a shift going on.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I have a sponsor. There's a shift going on that companies are understanding that the rate of return isn't great. Jessica's last photo, one of them, last time I checked, I think maybe like 15 down, had a 5% rate of return. When you have 4 million followers on Instagram, you have a 5% rate of return. While I get it, 5% of 4 million seems like a lot, and it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people liking your photo. It is not a good return.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that, I have, in a lot of ways, a better return than she does
Mm-hmm.
on what I put out there, and that, I'm going to be sort of setting up a commission link, and I'm going to have a better rate of return than she does on that because I just understand how to do this, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's a big shift going on. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to disparage anybody any further in this realm, but she's a perfect example, and I think the cosplay community really has to start paying attention that this division between professional and I guess
Mm-hmm.
regular cosplay is a real problem. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's coming down, and I think it's going to be very interesting what happens with Katsucon. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're going to go through a very interesting position in the next
Yeah.
3 or 4 years. I really do.
Yeah.
And never been, and I don't really want to go. So I have no
I
intention.
understand.
I lived 20 miles away from
Oh
Katsucon
wow.
for
Uh
five
huh.
years, and I chose not to go.
No.
But I digress because I want to talk about cosplays and your cosplays, and
Okay.
we're gonna get to anime in a second. But I figured we would talk
Okay.
about Disney princesses first.
Okay.
So I think you've done Pocahontas, you've done
Mhm. Oh
Shell from the
God.
Hotel Dorado, you've done
Mhm.
Esmera from the Hunchback of
Yeah.
Notre Dame, which
Yeah.
that's like a relic of a cosplay.
Oh, well,
You've
thank
done
you.
Cheetah from Castle and Sky. I mean Atlantis, the Lost Long Empire. And then you've done Kim Possible, and technically she's a Disney princess. She should
Yeah.
be. I
Yep.
love Kim Possible,
I do too.
and watching Kim Possible drunk is the best thing you could possibly do. Uh, illegally, might I
Yeah.
add,
Oh.
to a new level.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's so funny. Um, uh, did you want me to just talk about it?
Yeah, you could talk about them. I mean, I just I threw the entire Disney thing at you. I could
Yeah.
throw Goofy in there. I don't know if
Yeah.
Alvin and the Chipmunks is Disney at this point. I know Gravity Falls, but I actually don't know
Yeah.
anything about Gravity Falls, oddly
You
enough.
have to watch Gravity. You have to watch Gravity Falls. It's so good. It's so good. Like I I've always been a Disney kid, so like when I was a kid, I never completely cared about being a princess, but there were like Mulan, Pocahontas, Esmeralda. Like I wanted to be them when I was little. I was like, there we go. I didn't even really have too many of the regular Disney princesses except for like Belle and a couple other ones, but I have like loved Disney through and through since I was little. And when it comes to Esmeralda, Esmeralda is like my heart. That was probably my third or second or third real cosplay, because I had always wanted to be here as a child, and as soon as I was old enough, I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm doing it, because I thought she was beautiful. I loved, just a lot of things about her. But the princesses have always called to me, like the very strong types, the very independent, not typical princesses are the ones that I love, because I love seeing women in that, that strong light, that we can be strong too. Like, we can be soft and strong, like, kind of thing. Because I was a tomboy as a kid, but I had my moments where I used to run around the house. My mom should have known she was going to have a cosplayer. Of course, she didn't know what that was then, but I'd run around the house with a sleeping bag, a Winnie the Pooh sleeping bag on my head, and an ice cream bucket. And I was a princess. Don't ask me why, but that was my princess. Didn't want to be Cinderella, but I wanted to be whatever a bucket with an ice cream thing on their head was. But I continue to come back to the Disney princesses because they were just, people that I wanted to see when I was older. And then it's also fun going to cons as princesses. The second time I did Kita, I was at Otakon. And I, like I said, am not a thin girl. I'm still chunky, but I still wore it with my stomach out and everything. And I had like the little staff at the time, and we're crossing the street to go back to our hotel. And these three or four little kids were like crossing the street, and then all of a sudden, and I'm, like I said, 6 foot, all of a sudden I'm just being attacked by like the legs and the waist. And they're like, Kita! And I'm just like, don't kill the little kids, because I didn't want to fall or anything. But like, I made their day, and they were like, oh my God! And I was just over here like, like crying. The kids are over there freaking out. I'm like, this isn't how this should be. But the craziest thing though was I had the staff, and the littlest one, who had to be about 4, I like bent down to her and was talking because she wanted to touch my staff, and the other sister was like trying to just talk to me, and the oldest one goes and squeezes my staff, and she's like, oh, it's squishy. And the little girl goes and grabs my stomach and goes, yeah, it's squishy. And I'm just, okay, that's cool, it's fine, glad I don't have fragile anything. I'm so glad about that, because she did that, and I couldn't stop laughing. But I've had a bunch of different experiences being princesses at conventions and making little kids' dreams and stuff, and I loved it. And I did the Disney College program for a while as well, so I was down there, and I wanted to be a princess, but they said since I was so tall, I could only be like Darth Vader or a Stormtrooper, and Orlando Heat, I was not doing that. So I ended up not being able to be a princess, but I got to still make a bunch of little kids' dreams. I was a tour guide in the Pangani rainforest that they have down there, and then I also worked in the food section and got to give out little kids cupcakes when they stood in line quietly. So if you have kids and you go to Disney, try to make the kids be very good, they'll give you free things. Just saying. That's far off topic, but it still had to do with Disney, so we'll go from there.
And the reason why I bring this up is that everybody knows Disney, and everybody knows a bunch of princesses, and a bunch of people are exposed to Disney at this point. So obviously, you've done a bunch of that stuff, and you still bring it out every once in a while, from my understanding. Yeah. I've gone through your Instagram. You have a lot of posts. And I spent like 7 hours going through your Instagram. So
you went through all of it? Ooh.
I started at the bottom and went up to the top.
Oh, so you've seen, like, before I even had cosplay on there, you saw my chipmunk little pictures that I thought I was being a photographer at the time. I never delete any of it because I want to see from where I've gone to now. So thank you for going through it. But dang, you just seen the dark
my Instagram's a relic in which that there's some cool stuff on my Instagram. If people scroll through my 1800 pictures, and I have like I think 123 followers. Like I'm horrific
Uh-huh.
on Instagram, but it's for me. It's not for
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
else. And
yeah.
if you go through my Instagram, there's a bunch of cool stuff on my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. Like my favorite photo is one of the first Instagram things I put up there, where it's a Target during Pokemon Go. You know, how Target has the red balls
Yeah.
in your front. One Target painted it for Pokemon Go as a Pokeball
Oh, that's cool.
because the target was a Pokestop.
I get it. That is really cool. That's
I don't know if
smart.
they had permission, but I think they did it
Yeah,
anyway. And I
yeah.
don't think Target really cares.
I mean, sometimes you gotta ask forgiveness, not permission. Not saying go do that kind of stuff, but I guess that's the person's motto of what they were doing.
I'm sure somebody at Target did it. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't
Oh,
like
that's true.
it was too
Yeah.
perfect for it not to be graffiti. It was
Oh,
brilliant.
okay.
It was brilliant. I'm like, oh my god, what does this ball look like? Oh my god, it's a Pokeball. Like, who would have
Yeah,
thought? Um,
that's really
Photo
cute.
got no attention, but it's up there.
Yeah.
So go like
But
it.
hey, but yeah, like you said, there you go, and that's cute. That's very cute, and the fact that you saw that is even cooler because I have not seen one of those at a Target.
And now I really want to back out of Disney princesses, and I want to talk
Okay,
about a bunch of anime stuff.
okay,
And obviously, let's talk about Steven Universe because you've done a bunch of that, and you've
yes,
done Connie, you've done
mhm,
Rose Quartz, Pink
mhm,
Diamond.
mhm,
I did do Grace Rollick, who was in Steven's Universe, and
mhm, mhm.
she's great. And so,
So
what is
awesome.
that like? Because I know very little about Steven's Universe. I watched parts of
Really?
it. It's just something I never got into. And my thing is that I'm 28. So at
Uh
this
huh.
stage in the game, it's like there's series that I know and there's series I don't, but I know
Yeah.
that it's big and I know I made money on it because I had a bunch of comics
Yeah.
that I sold for good money with them.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so I know a little bit about it,
Uh
but
huh.
even still, what was this like? Because I know it is extremely popular, and you also did a few of these at Colossal Con. And for those
Mhm.
who don't know, Colossal Con is a water themed, very swimsuit oriented,
Mhm.
beach
Mhm.
party type Comic
Yeah.
Con slash anime con.
Yeah. I the funny thing is I understand the whole can't get into it because I was into it when I was like, I mean, I'm still into it. Actually, me and my friends, if they get to go to OhioCon, we're gonna do Stephen and Connie. And if not, I'm gonna do Stevani. So basically, I am bringing, when we were talking about it earlier, I am bringing back up like a lot of my older cosplays. But but Steven Universe, it started because that same friend who was telling me about, doing Raven and stuff, she was like, oh my goodness, you should be Stevani. You'd make an amazing Stevani. And she's just telling me this. And I'm just like, oh, okay, at first. And she's like, but you have to watch it. And so I sat down. I used to ride the bus, and it was like a 45-minute drive to and from school. So I sat down and I was like, okay, so I downloaded a whole bunch of the episodes. I think there's somewhere in between season two. And I was on the bus, and on the way there to class, I watched a whole bunch of the episodes because they were very short. And I was like, this is okay. Eh. And then while I was in class, I started being like, man, I really want to know what happens to the rest of that thing. Man, I really want to know what's going to happen with Steven. And I watched it all the way home, and then I was obsessed. I love Shivani because they are the epitome of me. Just very tall, awkward, anxious, and and everyone thinks that you're older than you are, basically. But I fell in love with Steven Universe because I love some episodes are kind of you think they're filler, and some have are more plot oriented, but you come and find out they're all kind of plot oriented. But I kind of got into it through that and just fell in love with the characters, fell in love with the main plot, what they stood for, because they dabble with a lot of issues and social commentary in Steven Universe. And of course, a kid wouldn't see it, but like adults see it. And I just love the characters and what they could, which sounds crazy because I have no kids. But theoretically, I would love my kids to watch that show and, learn these things, like if I had to, from the show. But I just fell in love with it that way and continued and did Stevani at Colossal Con, and I was terrified because then I was a lot more self-conscious and nervous. So having my stomach out and walking around was scary at first, but then after like less than 15 minutes, I didn't care, and I was running around like talking to all the other Steven Universe cosplayers, taking pictures, going to meetups and everything. Because I was a hardcore person for a while. I still am. I still carry like a Steven Universe backpack and stuff, but yeah.
Let's even talk about that, because it is interesting about cosplay, and I like to, somewhat controversial, but obviously how much skin people show is complicated, and also certain cons want you to sort of show more. Some encourage more, some are not for it. Also, depending on the time of night, also
Yeah, yeah.
on certain things. Obviously, I've been to anime cons and I've been not for safe panels. When I'm a presenter, most of my panels are PG-13 or less. My comic book investing panel, there's no cursing. It's just a more mature audience, just by nature of what we're talking about. Because if you don't have money, you can learn the trade, but you have to somewhat be interested in it, and it attracts typically 22-year-olds and up. But there's no cursing in it. And if a 5-year-old was in there, I don't know how far they would follow, but they'd be perfectly fine. They just want to sit and eat their Skittles. And I've had some eating Skittles in the back. I'm like, oh, what you eating, man? It's a really funny statement before I started speaking. And he's eating Starburst. And I'm like, dude, what you eating, man? And it was great. It was phenomenal. I thought it was the funniest thing. But what is that like for you, figuring out what you're comfortable with? Because it is also very controversial, and nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about anything anymore. So
no, you're not wrong. So for me, when I was younger, I grew up and I had, like, since I was always taller, I was thicker, I was everything. I got teased a lot and made fun of, and so that forced me into that bubble of I had to hide myself as much as possible. And eventually, when I got to halfway through high school, I just stopped caring. And I was just like, you know what? I am tired of being insecure. I am tired of being, anxious and hiding and doing all this stuff. I'm going to live my best life. I'm going to wear whatever I want. Of course, that depended on if my mom saw it or not. A lot of the times I tried to cover up. But, of course, the older I got, the more if I'm comfortable with it, I'll wear it. A lot of the times I try not to be super seductive going out, because I do know that there are kids there, and a lot of the time at cons and things, people there's kids, I'll say kids, but they're really young adults now that are younger than me who, like, I don't know if you know this, but it's like I don't know if it's everywhere, but in Ohio, like, everybody at the conventions, everybody knows everybody, and like everybody is friends in some kind of way, or someone who knows someone. And I was just, they have this thing called like your mom, your con mom or con dad. I don't know if, like I said, if you know that is a thing, but I got adopted by younger cosplayers who call me their con moms, and I still see them at cons. And I used to be very conscious, because at the time I was in my early 20s, but they were still like teenagers, and they were starting to copy a lot of the things that they saw other big cosplayers wear. And I didn't really like that, because one, that puts more pressure, that puts, it changes the whole dynamic. And I feel like when boudoir and stuff came into the picture, it changed the dynamic of cosplay from something that was almost friendly, always, child friendly, to stuff that it's like, now
it's become, a good way to put it is that Patreon has changed the game.
Oh, yeah,
and
there you go.
Instagram has changed it, where you can't sit here, and I'll be very, very, very honest about it. And it's the idea that it's now entered sort of a softcore porn position, for lack of
Yeah,
a better
yeah,
word, where
yeah.
now people go on, you know, um, you know, Instagram and Patreon,
Mhm.
and they're showing a lot more skin. It's more lewd. It's more
Mhm.
not safe for work, and
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
changed the way things are done. And look,
Mhm.
I believe in it. It's a free country, and you can do whatever you want in
Yeah,
America, as long as you're
yeah.
not doing something illegal. But we also
Mhm.
have to understand that, oh, you're going down a road, and why do you think
Mhm.
people are liking you? There's a whole
Yeah.
concept where what OnlyFans does, where the concept of ghosting, that
Mhm.
is happening right now with a lot of people, where they are having what is known as the girlfriend experience. And I was listening to an entire lecture on this, and then they're
Mhm.
becoming almost codependent on it, and it's a whole dopamine fix. And
Oh.
that's sort of affecting cosplay as well in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
now people are viewing and saying, seeing all this, and then real money's coming in, and then all of a sudden things happen, and you're getting guest spots at a con, and then it becomes a big business.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you're making 300, 400, half a mil
Mhm.
cosplaying, and you're getting all the praise,
Mhm.
all the likes and all that stuff, you
Yeah.
know, but if I get 5 likes on this video, I'll be thrilled. If I get 100 likes on this video, I will be ecstatic. If I was
Yeah.
getting 10,000, I don't know what I would do. And
Yeah.
it's the idea,
Yeah.
though, that when I don't get any attention, it affects me. And it
Mhm.
shouldn't, but it does.
Good.
It's very
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting what's going on with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say for me, I have whenever like I do things like on my page, usually it's for me or it's for my friends. It's never like a whole I'm looking for attention, I'm doing this to, become popular. Like that's never my goal, even though it may seem because I'm very much, as you probably saw looking at my feed, I have become more and more of a perfectionist and I want to scream and I hate it. But I'm like that with a lot of different things. But whenever I did boudoir or did anything like that, it was for me because I wanted to be the confidence of how I was celebrating my body, which I don't think I didn't do it too many times, but that was a part of it. A part of it was also at the beginning, I was trying to follow the trend because when that picked up, I first got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Well, actually, they didn't know what it was at the time, but I first got sick and I couldn't work any longer and I wasn't going to school and I was trying to figure out how to help my mother and stuff and she didn't know that I was doing this until later, but I was just like, this isn't me. If I want to take, put out some photos and then have someone buy them if they want to buy them, then okay. And if not, I don't have to. I, one, don't have enough energy to try to make a whole OnlyFans. I have no idea how all these people have so much time and energy to do these things. But I too feel like it's all changed the game of things. And
It also,
so,
just my background, and I'm not a CFA by any stretch of the imagination, but at some point I'm going to get one, certified financial advisor. For those who are interested, I'm very busy. It's something that I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to advise anybody economically,
uh-huh.
but it's something I want to do, and it's letters that I want next to my name.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, along with like 15 other letters, but that's not the point. That's not the point.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the idea, though, that also I think what's going on with OnlyFans, I'm well aware of it
Mm-hmm.
as a podcast with sponsors, that this is temp work for me, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that I might can do this interviewing forever, but having a sponsor is not a
Yeah.
guarantee. Making money in this sector is not a guarantee. And so this
Mm-hmm.
is a gig. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of cosplayers are about to go through that because this
Mm-hmm.
is temp work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your finances straight, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have certain things, and just people know how I feel economically and what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I run an eBay business, and I take my profits and put it into the
Okay.
stock market. I'm buying and selling comics, and
Mm.
that's an oversimplification of what I do. But I
Okay.
understand that I'm taking money out of the business
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at some point, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't think it'll ever be temp work, but I treat
Mm-hmm.
it like it is so that I have a
Mm-hmm.
contingency plan. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that people don't understand about this. And while you might be making 300,000, you know, 1 year on OnlyFans, you know, by the time you're 32, some of these girls, and I'm very honest, they're going to be working for the Subway that I buy, serving sandwiches in my shop as the manager and the owner of that franchise. And if you don't like what I just said, that's fine. Because I'm not, it's Kevin Samuel said it too. And I'm just saying.
Oh, no, you're fine. Because I get what you mean. Like, I understand exactly what you're saying. This, if you were to go down that route, it's never something that you should think is a solid job, because there's no, you never know. It might be, what if the site goes down? What if they take the site down? What if
it even goes further? It even goes further because there's always a new crop of kids coming up. There's always somebody new coming up. It's weird where there's a reason why I talk about economics and money, because there's less crop of kids coming up on talking about comic book investing, talking about the basics. There's less people talking about, you know, how alternative investing. That's why I get booked on shows talking about this. And I legitimately have like 40 shows that I need to get back to schedule. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because nobody talks about it, because people don't want to talk about it, or they don't know how to talk about it. And so it's very interesting in that regard. But we are so off topic of talking about cosplay, because I do want to talk about Free, because that's a show I know.
What show?
Free, but before we do have to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender too.
Oh, okay.
You've done Korra. I don't know if you've done Katara. I think you had a Katara in one of your photos, maybe.
Probably. I know I had a Bolin. I have a friend who did Bolin with me. I'm trying to remember if I had a friend who did Katara.
And then I know you've done Azula, because I don't know how much you know about me with Avatar: The Last Airbender, but Jessie Flowers has been on my show twice, and she plays Toph. And,
oh, really?
And then Jenny Kwan, who plays Suki's been on as well. So it's a very funny thing. And then Janet Varney, who plays Korra, did a written interview for me. So
wow.
I have a few connections.
No, that's really cool. The funny thing is, when it comes to Avatar, when I was younger, I didn't actually like it, but it was because I did not know that you had to watch, like, it was one of those shows that you had to keep watching every week. So, like, I'd come and watch it, and I didn't have cable at home. It was only at my grandparents' house. So I would watch it, and I'd be into it for, like, you know, a while, and then I'd have to go home, and then I'd come back, and I'd miss episodes, and I'm like, what the heck's happening? I don't even, what, who did this? Where's that? Why is Zuko here? Like, I was lost. So I wasn't into it. I did see, this is the thing though, I saw, hold on, I'm getting there. I then saw it though when I was older, because one of my friends was like, you need to watch it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch it, and I watch it all. And I did. And then I was in love. And then I was going through like all the seasons like this, and then I got to Korra, and then I was still going, like, I was going strong through all of it. And even though, you know, we don't talk about some of the issues that we had with Korra, but
like season 2 and season 4.
Yeah. But,
Henry Rollins is the greatest voice actor to come out of Korra.
Yeah. No, I was late. So now I'm like, I'm into it and I got everything. But I didn't get.
You know who Henry Rollins is by any chance?
Is that Uncle? Hold on. Who is it?
Henry Rollins is Zahir.
Is Zahir?
Zahir, like season 3.
Zahir?
Yeah, the Airbender who tries to go Korra.
Oh, see, I was thinking, my brain went. I'm like processing in my head while you're going. So when you said that, I was thinking of the guy who plays. I'm really bad at names. The guy who plays Uncle Iroh. I met him at a convention in passing. So my brain was over here, and I was like, yeah! And then I was like, okay.
So Henry Rollins, for those who don't know, basically was working in an ice cream shop. And then he gets a call up from while he was in D.C. to audition for one of his favorite bands. He plays because he was just a musician trying to make it. And basically went up to New York, audition, and like, oh yeah, by the way, just show up for these tour dates. And then he started getting acting gigs, and he's just been performing with this band, one of his favorite bands that he auditioned for the last 40 years, and he's been in movies, and then like one of the greatest things I ever watched was like a 3-hour interview discussion with him of just him answering questions that are like deeply philosophical. And when he plays it here and you watch that interview first, super interesting, different concept. And that's why season 3 is the greatest season of Korra, because it is strictly because Henry Rollins is a brilliant actor.
Oh, yes. I have to go back and
I don't even think he's American. I don't know if he's American. He might be. Technically, he might be a national American treasure.
I am like, I have to go back and watch it because it's been a while. The funny thing, since it went back to Netflix, I was like, I need to sit down and watch it all. But like, I'm so spazzy when it comes to TV shows. I'll start the show, watch 3 episodes, and then I'll be over here watching this episode, and then I'll be 3 shows away, and my friends are like, did you ever finish that show? And I was like, what show? They were like, this show. And I'm like, oh, I never finished it. And I end up back in this whole cycle of things. I don't know how I get there, but I do. I'm always backwards in some way. So I need to go back and watch it so that I can remember. Because you know, if you watch a show way too fast, you don't remember.
I remember everything. I'm a unique breed. I remember everything.
I wish. It depends on the show. Some shows, if it's too much stuff happening and I watch it so fast, I'll remember the main key points, and then after that, it just goes, and then it's like I just love the characters.
It's also though, like I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, so I own Avatar: The Last Airbender in DVD because I have the nice copies of it with the books that fold out, and I bought them dirt cheap. They're like $10 a pop, and I'm like, I'm in, done. And then I bought, I mean, this was like 8-9 years ago. They were like,
okay.
And then, so they're really nice. And then when I was moving it, those were, I then bought it in Blu-ray too. And I still have both because they're awesome. Then I bought Korra in Blu-ray. And then I'm trying to interview FC Yi, or Lee, who does the Kyoshi books. I'm trying to get him on. And I want to get a copy of the Kyoshi stuff. And then I spent real money on different Korra books from Free Comic Book Day and on eBay, and I spent like $15 for one of the Free Comic Book Day books because I love all the comic stuff it's in there. I love and Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I may or may not be spending money mid-December on a very, very exclusive Korra book. That's a very, very limited run, and it's got to wait for a few paychecks to be done and certain requirements my business taken care of. Mid-December, there's a good chance that I might be spending like $150 on a particular book of Korra. And anybody who knows comics and Korra knows exactly what book I'm referring to, and they're all going to bid it up now. So
I was like, I only know some of the comic stuff, but I know who. What was his name again? He just said it. The comic book writer. I know who the comic book writer is. The one who does is it Kyoshi? The new Avatar in the comics. Like a fan comic. At first, I thought, but then didn't they like buy the rights to it?
No. What happened is that Michael, the creators, just basically Dark Horse approached them and was like, hey, do you want to do these comics and continue the story?
Oh, so it was a part of it.
So Dark Horse has always been a part of it. And they did one, and then they did The Promise, which is just a continuation of after what happened after Zuko becomes the Fire Lord. And then they did the other stuff. And then when Korra hit, after Korra ended, they said, hey, let's just do Korra stuff. And they're still doing Avatar stuff. They're doing Korra stuff. There's all these tales, like I think there's like maybe like 5 books, and then also there's certain graphic novels that I think like Forged in Empire, I think, or Forged in Fire or something like that, that sets up Korra really, really well because it's struggling what role Aang has in the development world, and issues
Mhm.
between nations and issues between, globalization stuff. And it's so interesting. I haven't read it yet. I just read the
Oh,
blurb on it.
yeah.
Because I need to read Rune Empire first with Korra, and I have
Yeah.
all of them, and I just need
Oh,
to get reading
cool.
it. I just haven't. I've
I
only
need to.
read the first Korra, and then I'm reading the sort of the short Lost Tale books that are
So
sporadic.
were those the ones that were for free, the free comic day? Because I did get a couple of those. It was before the pandemic. It was like one was Korra and one was Avatar, and
So
I got it.
there's three Korras out there right now, I believe.
Oh,
The one that's the most difficult to find is cute little baby Korra playing with like her polar bear.
yeah, I don't have that one. That's
Um,
cool though.
yeah, then the last one is whatever what was good this year and was enjoyable, and then I do need to get the middle one, I think, or there's so much stuff out there with Korra,
Yeah,
but the Avatar stuff does well over time. It always does. 'Cause I'm a comic book investor, but
I
this is
believe
so
it.
off topic. This is
Yeah,
not what I
okay.
intended completely. This is what
that's
happens when
that's
we
usually how
want
it
to
happens.
do. We've gotten like
Yeah.
nowhere in this interview. It's horrific. Clearly, I did
No,
all
I
this
could.
work, and we're not even like
Yeah.
halfway through what I wanted to talk about. It's horrific.
I'm dead. I'm dead. That's usually how it is, like with me too. So it's not just you. Like my friends will tell you, they'll ask me this, and I'll be over here at all times. So you're fine. I'm used to this flow of like, here's the topic, and then you're over here, and then you're like, what were we talking about again? How did we
So,
get here?
so
You try to find-
clearly, because I got to get this thing back on track here
Okay, okay,
before we get
okay,
off the rails again. I do want
okay,
to talk about Free because
okay.
I actually enjoyed Free. This is an
Yeah,
anime I watched. I did not
yeah.
see the movie yet. I saw both seasons, um, and I'm pretty much
I
all
think
the way
there's
caught up.
4 seasons.
What?
I think there's 4 seasons now.
Then
Because
I
it's
probably saw three out of the four. I haven't seen the movie.
I
Um,
have I've only seen one of the movies.
you know what? You just don't get around to things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
having said that, though, what's cool about this is that obviously the place to do this was Colossal Con because
Mhm,
it's so fitting in so many ways.
mhm,
It's a gender bend, and
mhm.
also this was part of a big group. I mean, not a big group. You could only have four
Yeah,
people in Free. I mean, it's
yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's a unit, as I like to call it. It's not a
yeah,
group. I prefer to
yeah,
call it a unit.
yeah.
Some people might say, "Hey, we were a collective." That's a good word to throw around.
I
I like
can
that
do
word
it.
too. Some of my
Uh-huh.
comic book friends enjoy me throwing that word out there. So, how did this come about, and what was this like? Because obviously, a lot of stuff's going on, and I'm gonna throw something else in there too. Um, these characters are sort of white too, and it broke down
Yeah,
barriers, I think, a little bit with
yeah,
that, and saying, "Hey,
yeah.
cosplay doesn't have to be exact,"
Mhm,
and I guess race, creed, skin color, gender is
mhm.
non-existent technically.
Mhm. Yeah. So it came about because I actually, when I was leaving Japan, my friends the whole entire time I was there were trying to get me into Free, and I looked at the way they were drawn, and I saw Nagisa, and I was like, nope, that can't be real. Nope, not gonna watch it. And I was just not. I was just like, here you guys go. But I had gotten into Tumblr with them, and I saw some the
Oh,
ending
you went right
chapters.
into Tumblr like that. That's good.
Yeah, like it was just dove right in there. But like there was this video where they were putting the ending to WAP, and not the new WAP, but like the old like WAP WAP WAP, like to that song, if you know what I mean. And after that, I could not stop laughing. My friend showed me a lot of like old school YouTube free crack, as they call it, or did call it, and I kind of went back, watched all of Free. The next season was coming out, and I like dove deep into it. And before I left Japan, I grabbed everything you could find free because I knew I was leaving, and I'm like, I need all this. And so when I got home, I was still kind of obsessed with it. And I think that was around when either the movie from when they were kids were coming out. And all of our friends were in love with it. And we were like, you know what? Come on, let's go. And we just decided that we were going to do it no matter what. All of us cosplayed characters, no matter what color, or gender or anything like that. And I was just like, guys, 'cause usually when it comes to a group, it ends up being me coming out of the woodwork, and we're supposed to be doing this cosplay. And then I'm like, so hey, remember that con we're going to? Let's do this. And then usually they'll jump onto it. Or, sometimes they don't, but, when they do, we make a big group of it. So that's kind of how we decided that we were going to do it. And we just figured out who everyone wanted to be, and it was easy because we all like different characters. So it was easy to pick.
Because one of the things I like about this is that, it's obviously a group, and it, definitely I would imagine gets attention because you are all there in the group, and everybody has a role, and everybody's sort of out there, and then it's also the setting of where it is, and all the photos, it works really effectively. And it is nice sometimes to not just go cosplaying by yourself, but also be part of a group and have support, because cosplay is fun going by yourself, or having a partner with you, or having a character bounce off. But when there's 4 of you, people tend to gravitate like, oh, that's cool, and then they'll take a picture with their iPhone, or even photographers will be like, oh, I want to get a shot of all 4 of you there. And so what was that like? Because it definitely helps, I think, when you are in groups, and it also takes pressure off. And different people carry different weight when you're in groups. And I've never, obviously, I'm just speaking from what I observed. I don't go to cons, and I'm not in the cosplay circle per se. I'm more in the panel side of things, and I march my own drum in a lot of ways. But I just see things, and I know when there's like a Gundam group, like, oh, that's awesome. Especially when I'm doing a Gundam panel, and the Gundam photo group at Otakon is having a photo shoot in the middle of my panel, and I'm like, what?
Why did
like, why?
Yeah, why?
Really, guys? You could have done it before. You could have done it after. You're in the middle, like,
People, there is like an unspoken code at conventions, but some people haven't learned
my
this.
star just left in the middle of my panel. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. I cried. It broke me in half. It took me years to return to Gundam. It took me years.
Really? I never
Gundam therapy. I had to go through mecha school again. It was horrific. I don't think people understand. I was tempted to deactivate my Facebook page because I'm Andrew Mecha Davis on Facebook, and I was so tempted. I was heartbroken.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, for me, I never got into Gundam. My friends told me about it. Like, the only mecha anime that I was like really big into was if you consider Evangelion a mecha anime, which is,
it's Attack on Titan. That's where Attack on Titan from, but that's not the point.
We're not going to talk about that. But
a gigantic mech is powered by souls and living things. And, well, Eren and Armin and Rainer and a few other people are sort of also piloting things that are living by other things. And I don't know how to explain Attack on Titan, but I am Mr. Attack on Titan. So
I was just saying, I get what you mean. But so hold on, what were we talking about?
We're so off topic. So we're off topic.
What was I supposed to be answering? I can't even remember.
It's all right. It's all right. So to even go further into that, though, and throw something even further into the monkey wrench here. You also have done Sailor Moon as well, and I think this is relevant to Free to some degree and being part of a group, because you did Sailor Moon. You then also, with your traditional Sailor Moon, had a tuxedo mask. And it's the idea that even with the Free group, I think, having somebody to play off of, it helps in photos because it gives context. Sailor Moon is obviously an easy one for context. But when you have a tuxedo mask in play, it changes it a little bit and changes the dynamic of the photo and changes what can be done. And people say, oh, I get it instantly because they see, obviously the symbol. And even with your Free cosplay, when you see 4 characters that are in swimming gear are at a water theme
Mhm.
park, you know,
Mhm.
before anybody comes up, anybody who knows anime is like, oh, that's got to be free, or it's got to be
Yeah.
one of 4 animes off the top
Yeah.
of the head. So what was this like, really being part of a group, and then even diving into Sailor Moon, because obviously it's just a classic anime, and
Um. Sorry. Yeah, I was. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I thought you were done, so I didn't mean to. But
oh, please,
uh,
please, please.
um, basically, I really enjoy the groups, kind of like you said. Less on, I guess, the attention side, and less like that. It's like one of those like cosplayers, and I'm like, bam! I spent all this time. Look at me. But majority of the time, it's more so like we have fun, like you said, bouncing off of each other, taking photos. Especially if you're in the correct area, like you said, like Colossal Con, where it was a swimsuit convention. Um, I usually like I'll try to theme that because it doesn't help that I also do photography. So then I'm looking at legitimately the bigger picture of all of it because like I'm like I know there's a spot and I want to take pictures there and then this would be good this and then with my friends and stuff. So I end up being like the photographer also in the photos, but usually being able to bounce off of people, cosplay with people, joke around. Sometimes we mess around and joke with each other based off of the characters, that we're wearing and stuff. And I do feel like it makes it a lot easier, especially if you have to walk to the convention, because I've done things like midnight from My Hero Academia, and trying to
Yeah.
walk out is very. Or I did Lust from. I was at Otakon and I did Lust, and trying to walk from the hotel to the convention center. I did not look like a cosplayer. I definitely did not, and I wanted to run past the time because I'm just like, oh dear Jesus, this is too much attention in the wrong way
Well,
for regular people.
Lust does have some very nice assets, but that's not the point.
Yeah. Oh
Hey,
yeah.
hey,
So
I like my Lost Pop Funko. That's not for
yeah.
sale. I didn't put that on Instagram yet. That is not for
Yeah.
sale. And I have
Yeah.
put it right next to Roy Mustang.
Oh, I wish I was gonna say I just so happened to walk into Hot Topic one day and they had Ed Winry and Mustang, and I wanted an Alphon so bad. And those were the ones that were Hot Topic exclusive. And actually, for my Christmas, my friend gave me like the exclusive Alphons with the little cat that he was holding, the ones from Hot Topic. And so,
So the best ones from it's not from Hot Topic, it's from GameStop. It's Armstrong from GameStop.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know
So
that.
Armstrong glitters as a
Are you
Pop Funko.
serious?
And I got super lucky because I just walked into GameStop just
Yeah,
randomly.
yeah.
And
And they were.
it was there with a Rukia from Bleach, and I was like, done. And
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
just, I just got lucky. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh man, maybe I'll get lucky. And I got
Yeah,
super lucky. So that's my entire thing. But
yeah.
even going further away from Fullmetal, I promise we're talking about Fullmetal. There's like
Everything comes back to
there's
Fullmetal
like
Alchemist.
legitimately 3 more shows I want to talk about, and we didn't get to
Okay.
half of what I wanted to talk about, which is crazy. Um,
Sorry.
even going further into the photography side of things, because you've done Sailor Moon, you've done Punk
Mhm,
Sailor Moon,
mhm,
which I think is really, really
mhm.
well done. You've
Oh.
done Sailor Uranus, and they
Yeah.
obviously talk about pride and
Yeah.
that relationship and how they're not cousins anymore. That's for sure.
I always try to tell my cousin that she should do Neptune to my Uranus so we could be like we're cousins, like just
So,
joke.
so what was that like? Taking the photos with your Sailor Moons, and then even just doing it and mixing it up a little bit, because I appreciate mashups, and I think a lot of
I do too.
people. I think it's become more norm. I think
Yeah.
that the idea of purist cosplay,
Mhm.
and look, there are plenty of great pure
Mhm.
cosplays. I know
Mhm.
people like my friend Cap Santiago does an amazing Captain America. He does a great Nova. He was the
Mhm.
Nova on the Marvel covers, and
Oh,
I know him very well. And Eddie Newsom
cool.
was, I think, Captain America on the Marvel covers as well, that they did for
I
the
didn't know.
cosplays. I think there might have been a third male, in that group.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that Cap is great. Um,
Yeah.
and he does very pure cosplay, but he also does some mashup stuff. And so, what was it like for you to mix up with Punk Sailor Moon, and then also just also getting to do, Uranus, and really getting to do that one as well? Because and then obviously also talk about Black Lady, because Black Lady is something else. Sandy Fox, Black Lady is phenomenal, and I need to release her interview too. Um, so Sandy Fox plays Black Lady and plays Chibiusa, and very, very interesting
Yeah.
character to
Yeah.
do that with the roses in the hair as well, and that's very photogenic in a lot of ways. So I just do a lot at you, so take it how you want.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Dark Lady, I'm actually gonna do her again at CostuCon because of those. The last year when I did Olivier, funny enough, I was supposed to be doing that photo shoot with a person, and I was supposed to be Dark Lady because I did it at a smaller convention, and then I lost the wig. Don't ask me how I lost the wig, but I did, so I couldn't do it. And then, of course, months after I find the wig, and so I was really pissed about that, but that's another story. But for Sailor Moon, it's usually with the mashups, I really enjoy doing them because I think it's fun to be able to pull things from both worlds of whatever you're going to do. I like to do a lot of punk stuff, as you can see, because I'm doing Tiffany from Chucky. I was doing my Tiffany cosplay, but I forgot to put the little thing, the little heart and everything. But I love punk stuff, so it wasn't hard. It was just trying to do it justice, and that was actually just that in my house I grabbed stuff to do it with, and was like, I'm gonna do this at a con, and then con never came, so I never got to do it then. But for the I've always wanted to do the actual outfits, but I do have some mashup ideas that I'm going to do with Sailor Moon soon. But for a lot of the characters, one of the things that was really, I guess, quote unquote controversial with me doing Sailor Moon was because I'm so tall, and all of my friends are shorter than me except for one, my friend Cass. Me and we are always, if you see us in pictures, we look like we're both tiny because of the fact that we're both so tall. But I was the biggest one there and was doing Chibiusa. Or Sailor Moon. So it's not Chibiusa, sorry. I was doing Sailor Moon. So it was interesting. But I try not to let the whole aspect of my height or size or anything get in the way. So I would
because it's very interesting, and this is actually something so fascinating. Where I think I'm 5'10", 5'11". I think my driver's license is on 5'11". So that's how big I am. So you're taller than me.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that. And this is going to sound weird, but to some degree, you can be criticized somewhat for your height, and it's the idea that so even dealing with that and finding cosplays that work and actually making it fit, because typically Sailor Moon or even Black Lady is not tall, and so those cosplay designs, even if you're designing it yourself or buying it, they're not meant for somebody who's 6 feet. You know what I mean? It sounds weird saying it, and it's not an issue where at this point, cosplays are made in all different sizes. But I don't think they're making it for 6 feet, because I don't think that many women are 6 feet tall.
No.
I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong.
No,
and somebody correct me who's watching this, and I'll be happy to admit that I was wrong. But I don't think the average woman is 6 feet tall.
No. A lot of the people or other females that I meet at conventions or they are not my height. The fact that I found my friend Cass is very surprising because they were younger than we thought, because they were the same height as me, and they kind of had the same aspect like when I was a kid, that people thought that I was older at all times because of my height. But yeah, most of the cosplays, they don't make it for people my height. So I end up having to try to finagle things, figure things out. for example, recently I did Yumiko from Kakagarui, and my mom, for my birthday, bought me two cosplays that I wanted. I wanted an actual official Sailor Uranus cosplay, but they didn't have it then, so I got Jupiter, which is the other character that I want to do, which makes sense for tallness for Jupiter, even though they're not as tall as we think they are. But I got that, and it was still, I have a long torso, so it's pushing it, and I have to I'm gonna have to try to make something to go underneath it. But it's always trying to figure out something, because even like the dress that I used for Dark Lady, it was one that I bought and then completely customized everything else, and I had to sew more frills and sparkles on the back of my dress. I had to make everything lower, because where my hip was not where the average hip was in the shirt, or in the dress. So I've always had to creatively think of ways to make it fit the character and be a part of the design without taking it away too far, if I'm trying to make something look like the character, like how I went with Dark Lady. And my friend is a wig stylist, and her name is Starlight Wig. She's actually going to make me a wig for Dark Lady, and I'm super excited because it's going to be customized to my height, so I won't have tiny little pigtails that are barely that long, but I'm trying to play off like they're super long because I'm so tall.
I know who Starlight is. I know who she is.
Oh, really? Ah, that's so cool. Yeah, no, they're like my best friend. But yeah, no, so they I just try to do my best if I'm doing like you kind of said, a purist cosplay. Majority of the times I don't, but I try to get as close as I can, or take artistic license with it. But Sailor Moon is another anime that I didn't know until I was older. And I fell in love with it. My same friend that I was telling you about sat me down and was like, "We're watching this," and so we sat down and watched. I got forced into watching a lot of anime at first, and then I started watching more anime than they did. So, but I don't know if that answered anything. But
so clearly, we're my next question is really going to put us down 6. I guarantee you it. My next question is going to put us down 6. I would start talking about panty and stockings, but I don't think that's going to be a good ending.
Yeah.
Clearly, now we're going into adult territory. Oh
yeah. I was going to say, with panty and stocking, the funny thing is my cousin, the one who's in it, that's my cousin I was telling you about. She refused to wear. I am more stocking, even though I wear a lot of sexy costumes. My cousin lives vicariously through me and shoves me into all of the sexy cosplays, and I shove her into all of the cutesy little ones that would not look completely okay on me. So with panty and stocking, our personalities are actually swapped. So when I did it, I was so out of my comfort zone being panty, and she was out of her comfort zone being stocking. But we made it work, and we're actually going to do it at OhioCon, because I'm you know what, we should bring it back and do it again. But yeah, panty and stocking is very, very adult. I got a lot of stares taking pictures where I took some pictures with the whole, taking the underwear off to make into the guns that I had, and I got a lot of weird looks. I did it on Sunday, hoping that most people were gone. They were not. There were people who weren't even con people, who were just regular moms with kids, and I was getting a lot of glares. But you do what you have to do for the shot, and I do the same thing as a photographer. I do the same thing. I will hurry up and take pictures. If we might get in trouble, you gotta hurry it up, take the picture. We got the shot. Come on, let's go. Let's run after that. But yeah. So. Yeah, panty and stocking.
This is absolutely going on TikTok and in my Instagram Reels for sure. Answer. So
oh, I didn't know you had a
Clearly,
TikTok
that's
too.
what I just put into my notes. So clearly, we don't know what I'm doing tonight on my iPhone screen sharing. Clearly, screen record. Clearly.
Well, my name over there is Unproductive, because I stole my own name when it was Musically and cannot get back into the account. So my name has Productive in it, not just Unproductive, because I can't get back in there. And the funny thing is, no one's
That's
ever
pretty
taken
much where we're
me.
going with this interview. So there we go.
Yeah, okay, okay. But yeah, you can continue. I don't want to pull you off topic anymore.
I'm not going to go any further into panty and stocking
No, no, I'm
because
not like going
that
anywhere else.
speaks for itself. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, yeah. Fairy soccer speaks for itself. Yeah.
And so we didn't get to like legitimately half of what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about Fullmetal Alchemist because I did tease that at the start of it. It only took us an hour and 20 minutes to get here. Only an hour and 20 minutes. So obviously you've done an Alphonse that was very much your first cosplay, boxed up out together. And then fast forward, you've done Lust at Otakon. And then the reason why how I found you is that I'm on a Fullmetal Alchemist kick, everybody. I'm on episode 27, as I stated. And I'm not up to the north yet. I'm not up to the north
Oh,
yet.
you're not up there. Okay.
I'm going to be getting there sooner, though. I mean, I'm going to be finishing Fullmetal Alchemist in like the next like 3 weeks. Easy. 3 episodes. Episode 27. There's 64. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's going to be a quick burn for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching like 3 tonight after my second interview.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is that what is the story behind Armstrong? Because that's what I really want to talk about. That's the only thing I want to talk about. I don't really care about
The
Lost.
story
Lost is in
behind
the
it.
past, but I
Yeah.
want to talk about that Armstrong cosplay because that is the best place to end. So,
Yeah.
what is the story behind her and building her out? Because there aren't that many Armstrong cosplays. There's Alex Armstrong, but not a lot of all of VA's.
Yeah.
Armstrong.
Yeah. So I absolutely loved her in the show. And I used to say when I was younger, when I started reading the manga, because I watched the show first, then went and read the manga, and then, Brotherhood came out not too long after. I love those strong female types, the kind of people who you don't take, you don't look down upon them in any way. And she's just a strong, brave character, and I really liked her. And I've always wanted to do her and Hawkeye, and Azumi, because I have locks, actually. So I was like, when my locks get long enough, I'm doing Azumi. But basically, me and my friends were just like, you know what, let's do Full Metal again. Let's bring Full Metal back. And so there was a group of us, and as soon as I had always wanted that uniform, like always, when I was a kid and I used to see people walking around in it, I was like, I want to be a part of it. So I could, as soon as she said it, I was like, okay, I'm doing Armstrong. I got to do Armstrong. So I got everything together, and I got it off of AliExpress, and none of the sizing was correct at all, like none of it. And so I had to get to sewing. They gave me my money back, but I had to get to sewing and sew those extra sections of it to make it look like it was all as best as I could, make it look cohesive. And we were supposed to do it at OhioCon, and one day it started snowing really hard in Ohio. And I'm a hot body, like I'm always hot. My mom's always cold, but I was like, Ma, it's snowing. Please, will you go take pictures of me across the street in the park? And she's like, now? In the snow? And I'm like, yes, please, it works. And she knows Fullmetal Alchemist, like, is my heart and joy. So she was like, okay. So she went out there, and the one picture where I have that big coat on, I actually got that from the Goodwill for like $10. So check out Goodwills for cosplays. But my mom ended up wearing it. That's why in some of the pictures I don't even have it on, because my mom was so cold trying to take the pictures, and I went and edited them. But she has just, her, Alphonse, Hawkeye, they have all been kind of like my love and my dream cosplay. So that's how she came about.
because it's a very, very interesting cosplay. And
Mhm.
obviously, you have her sword, obviously, her uniform, and she's
Mhm.
an extremely prevalent character. And
Mhm.
technically, as me and my friend Josh were talking about
Mhm.
Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and
Mhm.
he didn't want to ruin anything. Well, I'm not as nice as he is. Um,
Okay.
so obviously, she plays a massive critical role
Yes.
in saving the country in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And
Yeah.
she's also very, very strong. She has a
Mhm.
rigorous idea of handling the fort, dealing with
Mhm.
Kimberly, for lack of a better
Mhm.
word, addressing
Mhm.
certain things that are happening. And,
Yeah.
the way she deals with problems is beyond interesting.
Yeah.
And, so what is that like? And even going into building out her cosplay and doing that and keeping all that in mind, because obviously people who know Full Metal Alchemist are picky and they expect a
Mhm.
certain, style and
Mhm.
I guess attitude presented in the cosplay. And so
Mhm.
what was that
Mhm.
like in designing and even just the background stuff going on with her? Because very interesting character, very strong character, very
Yeah.
recognizable character. And I
Yeah.
don't think she was in the original.
No, she wasn't. No. They used her as like they had the little sister. Olivier is in, or Olivia was in the original, and that was supposed to be his sister. And then in the Brotherhood, they made it Olivier, which is the character that I do, and they changed her, and she's the complete opposite of what Olivia was in. But they did throw a hint in it in the anime. You'll see later on. You'll see a little hidden. If you've watched the first one, you'll see like a little cute little hidden detail. But I that was one thing that I was nervous of because I when I wear the cosplays and stuff, I like to at least get lost in the character, get lost in how would they stand, how would they smile, what would they do, in like different situations, and that might be like the theater kid in me. But I try to make sure like if I do a character, I will try to present the character as much as how the original character is. So I was a little nervous because she is very stern and very,
She's very
very
cold
persistent.
versus
Yes, very
Alex
cold.
Armstrong, who's very
Yeah,
warm, and
yeah,
there's a methodology behind her and what
yeah,
she does, and it's also very different on how she does things, and so it's
yeah.
super, super interesting where Armstrong has a philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why he's Major Armstrong versus her, who's like Brigadier General.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. I I just tried my best to capture that with my face, the way I stood, the way I did um, things. And at first, I was nervous when I posted the pictures because, like you said, there is a level. Because I was even picky with the version of the costume that I was getting. Like I didn't want the old ashy gray. I wanted the new one. Not saying I love both series, but like I was picky in that aspect. So being able to do that and try to capture it was what I thought was going to be hard, but it was actually a little easier to look mean. And I will thank that to Bakugo, me cosplaying Bakugo so much. So that scowl and face is kind of ingrained into me now, so it wasn't that hard. But as you can see, I'm a very like bubbly, like laughy type person. So it's always funny to see like what the picture looks like versus like how I was feeling or how I thought I looked on the inside. It's very weird to see um, taking cosplay pictures when you can try to master those like little details of like facial expressions and stuff. Because I am the complete opposite of Olivier when it comes to how cold she is. So it's always funny. I tend to gravitate towards those characters, but I am the complete opposite in that regard.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, and I'm really curious before I ask you,
Mm-hmm.
three more questions.
Mm-hmm.
what is it like? Because obviously FMAB, Korra, Avatar,
Mhm.
Steven's Universe, and obviously some Disney stuff. All that stuff is still relevant in a lot
Mhm.
of ways, and people still love it. And obviously, Fullmetal Alchemist has been very dominant since I think
Mhm.
2006, 2000
Yeah.
onward, and
Yeah.
Brotherhood obviously, and it's still relevant. People still revere it very highly, and
Mhm.
it's one of those go-to animes. It's not a
Mhm.
requirement to be an anime fan, but it's definitely up there. That if you drop Fullmetal Alchemist, everybody sort of knows it
Yeah.
as a show, whether they know the original, whether they know it
Mhm.
from Brotherhood. It's not really,
Yeah.
people just know what it is. So what
Yeah.
is that like for you to be able to cosplay this character and everybody to know it, and for it to be viewed as what I view as a core anime? Because it is
Mhm.
important,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with cosplaying characters from 30 years ago, but
Yeah.
it's also nice to know something is still being watched and
Yeah.
analyzed, enjoyed, and that
Mhm.
companies like Funimation and Crunchyroll are keeping it in their libraries to be streamed.
Mhm.
They don't have to.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I feel like it's a very, like you said, it's a core anime. It was my first one, so I went in kind of, I guess, in the darker realm because it's very funny, but it can be very dark. But I love that mesh up in the show, and I love, like I said, kind of the same thing with Steven Universe, like the main principles that they have behind it, and just there's just so much in Full Metal Alchemist, and I have watched it and read it so many times and see so many different things every time you watch it, and I just feel like it's a very solid show. Um, Cosplaying from it though, it's really fun walking around conventions if it is like an oldie, but you also love it because usually the people who are still going ham and cosplaying Full Metal Alchemist are usually just as crazy and in love with it as the other person. So like when I did Olivier and I was waiting for the photographer, I ran into a Hughes and we freaked out for like I don't know how long, and I was just like, we're all talking and like, are you gonna go to this panel? Are you doing that? And like, I love that aspect of it, especially like with older animes, because some like cosplays like you see like My Hero now is like everywhere, and almost everybody cosplays My Hero, and it's fun, when you see other people, but it's a little different when you see a cosplay that's a niche cosplay, even though it's not. But like you don't see a lot of young cosplayers
Well,
running to FMA.
yeah, you don't see a lot of young cosplayers doing FMA, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also, it's a different fan. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm in a weird, I don't know how old you are. You're young enough that
I'm
I can ask you
26.
that without being offensive.
Oh no, I'm 26.
So yeah, you're in my generation to some degree.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is super interesting actually, and I'm actually curious about it on a personal level. Um, I am now 10 years ago. I was a different anime fan when I started going to cons and staying
Mm-hmm.
up to 2 in the morning, and when I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
19, and in college going to cons. And I am a
Mm-hmm.
different anime fan now than I was, 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons in my personal life, obviously my tastes have changed. I have different interests. I'm into wrestling. I'm into comics. I'm into,
Mm-hmm.
investing as a whole. I'm into, actually watching something on Netflix and chilling
Mm-hmm.
out, as well as what I like to do is different, and the shows I like are very different than
Mm-hmm.
what's out there
Yeah.
currently. And also, when you start coming into your 30s, it's, I don't want to say it's weird for me to be at it, but there's a shift in
Mm-hmm.
certain things with
Mm-hmm.
anime and fans. I'm also more gravitating towards comics, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to say I've grown out of a con. And I've also just had a few bad con experiences, and then COVID hit. So my last
Yeah.
memories of cons have been bad, and then COVID hits. So
Yeah.
naturally, you know, a lot of distance in the last 22 months has been put between me and the con, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what it looks like. And,
Mm-hmm.
also I'm a panelist. So for me, I'm in a weird position because I am an older
Yeah.
fan now
Mm-hmm.
who understands and is connecting a lot of dots in anime and likes to lecture, and I lecture on topical things.
Mm-hmm.
I've done lectures on Attack on Titan, I've done lectures on sports animes, I've done, podcast lectures, and that
Mm-hmm.
stuff is very topical. And, I'm building out a Pokemon and government panel, and I'm building out a My Hero Academia panel. But I also
Mm-hmm.
am slightly different. So I'm curious about how you feel about being a fan and becoming an older fan, because the next generation, there is a difference between a 19-year-old and a 26-year-old. There's a difference between an 18-year-old and a 28-year-old. There's a difference between a 20-year-old and me as being 28. There's
Mm-hmm.
just a knowledge difference, a world difference, and even the animes I've seen, I go back like 40 years ago, So
Yeah.
like I go back to the 70s, I go back to the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
anime wise. Like I know things like the original Astro Boy. And
Mm-hmm.
some of these kids coming up in the anime world, they don't even know what Astro Boy
No.
is. And they don't
No.
know anything, and then they're in my pound, like, and you just see like it hits them like a brick that like I'm talking about how anime formed and where we're at. So that's
Yeah.
enough of my soliloquy there, and I'm curious how you feel about that, because I don't know how that is for cosplay.
So yeah, there is a big shift and a big difference. Like I feel like you know, in some ways, I'm wondering how things will be after the pandemic going back to conventions, because the conventions that I went to this year, that I didn't get to see a lot of the normal people that I see, of course, and not everyone wanted to go out, which honestly I can understand that. And with my health conditions, I get I was very scared at first. But I do feel like there's a big difference, because with the younger kids, like some animes that are problematic now, like they're, how do I explain? Like seeing older anime, sometimes you see a lot of problematic issues, but it's more of a thing of like some people, younger people, want to just cancel the anime even though it's a classic, and it's like you don't have to completely cancel it. It could just be that you now know that this X, Y, and Z is not appropriate, but you could still you sometimes you can enjoy the show, sometimes you can't. But for me, I can now look back at some animes that I thought were like a masterpiece when I was younger, and then I see all the issues that are in them now. Uh, but even the fandoms have changed, because before it's not like we had big connections with other people that loved the same thing as you, as the people that were around you, and that was about it. And now it's so easy to find people, and we're at this weird time where like fandoms online can go two different ways. Like it could be very awesome, or it can be very like turn you off from going to cons.
It's very interesting, and me and a friend were talking about this, where it used to be in the anime world, you needed to watch certain shows, Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
You needed
yeah,
to be a DBZ fan. If you were a girl, you
yeah.
needed to be into Sailor Moon. You needed to watch Outlaw Star. Going back to 2007 through 2009. If you
Mhm.
weren't watching Fullmetal Alchemist, you weren't watching Code Geass, you weren't watching Gundam
Mhm.
Double O. If you weren't
Yeah.
watching things like Afro Samurai, if
Mhm.
you weren't watching Naruto, Bleach, One Piece,
Yeah. Yeah.
certain things like
Yeah.
that, then you weren't an anime fan. And now that has
Yep.
shifted, where the
Yep.
core attributes of what I like to call being a core anime fan, and
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you need to watch every single show that I just
No.
mentioned. Now, you don't need to watch any of that. And it's a
Mhm.
very interesting world we live in the
Yeah.
anime community, because there
Yeah.
is no core show anymore. You
No.
don't have to watch My Hero. And
Mhm.
you can watch 15 other shows that are, on the outskirts of My Hero, and you are in the anime community. And there
Yep.
are many cores and many
Yeah.
centerpieces. There are people who are just Miyazaki and Shinkai and
Yep.
Hosoda fans, and they're
Mhm.
really into
Mhm.
anime movies, and that's what
Mhm.
they're in. There's people who love Studio Trigger, and that's all they
Yep.
want. There are people who
Yeah.
love IMAX, and
Mhm. Mhm.
it's such an interesting field. And I mean, I could have like a 9-hour conversation with you on this topic alone.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Um,
Yeah.
me and Otaku Nate were speaking about it, and we have to continue that conversation, me and him, at some point, because he's very much like me, and me and him are very similar in age, and we've both been doing the con circuit, and we deal with similar topics and different topics, and
Mhm.
obviously it's a very interesting conversation when you talk about this and actually have real discussions, and it's super interesting for the fandom. But we've been speaking
Yep.
for almost an hour and 40 minutes. So didn't get to like
I
50%
wish
of
I
what
could
I want to
talk
talk about.
more.
Didn't talk about video games, comics.
Yeah.
Didn't talk about a bunch of your animes that you've cosplayed.
Yeah.
But I
I
do
can
want to
always
give
come
you
back and
a
talk to
chance.
you another time if you
Yeah,
want.
clearly. I'll do half the work next time because
Yeah. I
but
talk
I'd
too
rather
much,
be prepared
sorry.
than not prepared is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, you're
So,
not wrong.
having said all that, though, I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. So, I
Mhm.
did put up a bunch of your links up above in
Oh,
the
thank you.
chat up there. It looked like an
Uh-huh.
hourly link because Facebook is being difficult with other
Oh,
links
okay.
right
Uh-huh.
now, but it works. It works. I tested it.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool.
So you could click it. It works. It's not an owl. It's not from
Uh-huh.
Hootsuite. It technically is from Hootsuite. That's the thing here. It
Uh-huh.
will bring you to your stuff. But where can people find you? Where can people find you on Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram, stores,
Mhm.
Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, TikTok, Snapchat,
Yeah, yeah.
Instagram? If I didn't mention it, Tumblr. I don't
Uh-huh.
know what else you got. I'm out of ideas
Uh-huh.
here. I only have 10 fingers.
Okay. So most of my ads are unproductive or unproductive cosplay, and it's spelled with duck in it, like DUCK. Um, but I'm usually on. I'm sometimes on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as unproductive cosplay. I'm trying to get into TikTok more. I feel like I'm old, and I'm like I don't get how to make these things. So on there, I'm unproductive with a Y. Um, but those are mine. I also do photography. It's Majide Photography. A play on my name and Japanese. Those links I'm the same on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Um, I don't have one for TikTok, but I have all the other ones going on. But yeah, if you want to come over there, follow me, see what I'm doing. And I have a lot to post. I just haven't been posting. I've been trying to pay attention to my photography stuff. Now I'm going back to cosplay things. It's hard trying to run both with also chronic pain issues. So
I completely understand chronic pain. I
oh goodness,
completely understand it. It
yeah.
is not easy,
Oh
to say
god,
the
no,
least.
no. It's horrible. Like ever since it's just things have gotten a lot harder, but I still cosplay and I still try to do everything the same. I just might be a little slower. I may look young in those photos, but I may be walking down down the con floor like I'm an old lady because I'm in pain. But it's okay. I looked okay in the photo. That's what you look at. Now don't look at me.
And on that note, and I think it's a
Yeah,
perfect semi-place to end.
yeah.
But I've been saying this is that you have to support indie content creators, and what
Mhm.
that means is that first and foremost, if any indie content creator has a store, whether they're selling prints, merch, mugs, shirts, T-shirts, patterns, and anything else relating to cosplay that can help you, or just as a merchandising item, um, you know, a lot of that money goes back into helping cosplay directly or indirectly. And
Mhm.
so that's super important. Also, going even further, obviously with Patreons, when people have them, support them. If you have the extra money, it goes a long way. Again, that helps tremendously because
Yeah.
cosplay is expensive. But even going further beyond that, because that stuff is great and supporting money is helpful,
Mhm.
but also following people on Twitter, following people on Facebook pages, following them on
Mhm.
Instagram,
Mhm.
and other social media platforms is
Mhm.
very, very helpful. And signing up if they have email lists and other things goes a
Mhm.
long way too, because
Yeah.
followers matter.
Yeah.
And, it's support, but when you're following somebody, you also have to retweet what they're doing, give it a heart,
Mhm.
like what they're doing, comment on it, say, hey, love your
Yeah, and
cosplay.
if you comment, I usually comment. I usually reply back as fast as I can. So I like
Even
talking to
even if you just say, "Hey, great cosplay,"
people.
it goes a long way. And you don't have to, write an essay. You don't have to come up with something witty. You can come up with something witty.
Yeah, if you
Please
want.
do. Please
I'll
do.
read it.
I guess I appreciate witty comments.
Yeah.
But it's also very important to do that because it does let these algorithms know that people are watching, people are paying attention, and that it also makes people realize that you're a human being and that you're
Yeah.
engaging with them. And
Yeah.
so that goes a long way. Also, I am an indie content creator. I do have a sponsor. I do live reads, but running this show is expensive, and I appreciate all shares, likes, support. I appreciate comments. I appreciate people, whether you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on Twitch, you're watching Facebook, like my Facebook page, PopAnimeCom, subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Twitch. I'm not on Twitch as much as I would like to be. My next interview is in 10 to 15 minutes, and that's on this same very page if you're watching on Facebook. If you didn't catch the replay, and also I have Buy Me a Coffee, which is very similar to Patreon, and you can go check that out. And I am going to be launching most likely a Kickstarter in January, and what I mean by January is 12/01, January 1st. So a minute after, I'm probably going to do a live video in Brooklyn with a bunch of my friends, or one of my friends and a bunch of his friends. And it's going to be a great time because it's going to be a rare position where I might be slightly drunk, and you never know what can happen. But I promise you, it's going to be the 48 hours, the New Year celebration is happening as a tier reward, and you don't want to miss it, and you heard it here first. So on that note, I am going to give you the final word.
Okay. Well, it was nice talking to everyone, and it was cool hanging out with you. And sorry I got off topic so much. And yes, there we go. So I don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to say. I'm going to be going to OhioCon, KatsuCon next year, where it's BlurredCon, ColossalCon, and a bunch of other ones. So if you see me, please say hello. As you can see, I'm very friendly. I like making new friends. So yeah, there's about it. That's all I got.
And I believe that is a wrap.
Okay, cool.